pop stars? Welcome to this latest episode of the Popcorn Wind Down Rewind, or just the Rewind. Hey, I'm Eddie.
And I'm Tammy.
How you doing, Tammy? What's been going on with you the last couple?
I'm doing good. I feel like I'm doing better than I was last last show. So things are flowing, getting into the later part of the semesters. We'll see how we if hopefully we end strong.
Happy November, everyone! It's November 1st.
Yes,
Did
it
you
is.
did you do anything for Halloween? Dress up, go trick or treating?
I partially dressed up. Okay. Dressed up as a student. And so I didn't go as extreme as I told some of them. Like I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna dress up as a student, but I didn't go that extreme. But I wore like skinny jeans and and then I put on like really like those real short socks. They're not even really ankle socks. So you can't really see it. And I just, have on my slip in sneakers. And then I put my hair in too high ponytail and I put a headband around and I had some big earrings on, and then I put my hoodie on, and I had my hoodie on my head, and I leaned back, and I was just like, like, and that was me for like I didn't last long. Um, People were seeing me, they were like, "Oh, okay, like you chilling." I said, and then after like maybe 2 hours, I said, "Yeah, I'm done." Like I was like, "I'm done." I went trick or treating at work. Like, they had something, so we went trick-or-treating at work, door to door, is what we did, but that was as far as I went. Because as soon as I got home, I went to bed. That's what I did. Tried to avoid the nonsense. What about you?
Oh, hiccup. I have this, I went as a slashed pumpkin instead of a smashed pumpkin, but I have this pumpkin sweatshirt that's slashed, and I had on some, ripped up jeans and, some destroyed jeans. So I guess I was a destroyed pumpkin. I wanted to do the makeup. I was gonna do the makeup, but I woke up and I was like, "Yeah, I'm not feeling that." So we're
Mm,
good. But I had on the Halloween colors and, uh, and I was good. And then I was gonna go buy some candy, but I'm like, that shit's expensive, and I didn't feel I was like, I will go and get it when it's, when they mark it down today or tomorrow, and,
yeah, and
it
then
just
share it out later as a
yeah.
reward or something like that. Yes, I
And
do
the
that
porch
too.
light was off, so I thought about it, but what really changed my mind on the passing out the candy was I had a slight headache, and I was just tired, and I just was like, "I'm chill," but I was good. Watched the theatrical version of Thriller for the first time in forever, and it's in 4K now, so it's really cool, and I was doing the dance because I learned to dance in the dance class, and plus, growing up, that was the shit, and
It
so
was a
you just
thing.
kinda it's one
I
of
would
those
say
thi
it's still the thing.
yeah, it's just one of those things you learn, you learn the dances too. So, it was good, but I hate that I didn't watch It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown or whatever. So I was like, I'm do that next time. So, but yeah, it was pretty
I
chill.
didn't do Hocus Pocus. I normally watch Hocus Pocus, the original, and I didn't do that. But I will say, Michael Jackson's Thriller is permanent for Halloween, the way that Mariah Carey's, what is it? All I Want for Christmas? No,
Yes.
not All I Want for Christmas.
It is All I Want for Christmas. All I want for Christmas. Oh no,
Okay, yeah.
that's not her.
It's,
Whatever it
it's
is.
the same way as in like literally, we about to go to stores and that song is going to be on repeat on every single that we go into. Is the same way I feel about Thriller. Like if I don't hear Thriller at least once on Halloween, then it's not Halloween.
Yeah.
Then
And
then I'm like, it's a wrap. Like what's going on with our lives right now?
I think part of the thing is that I love Halloween. I'm not one of those people who thinks that it's just the evil holiday. I don't get that deep into it. And I know a lot of people do, but I think also part of this year's, how do I put it, check outness. I'm making up words again, but part of the reason why I was checked out and just really wasn't into it is because every day is like living a fucking episode of the American
Yeah.
Horror Story. And so, and I think that's this week's title, the one where we're living a real life episode of American
Like
Horror
a horror
Story.
story. I'm all for it. I like that.
Okay. So, and we can start with the Great Gatsby Alternate World party that was held in the White House last night, and I guess he did what other people have done so many times before, is to had them throw up tents on the south lawn and hosted all those people because, as we all know, over the last couple of weeks, you've basically torn down the entire east wing of the White House to build a fucking ballroom that no one wants, that you're lying about who's going to pay for it. And, first of all, I don't even understand how it's possible because when you move into the White House, the first thing they tell you is you're not allowed to make any permanent changes. And when presidents have moved in with kids, they've told them they are so particular about what they put on the walls. Like they're not allowed to even put nails in the wall. They have to put like sticky tape to hang up posters and all
Mm.
that shit. Like you have to get permission to paint the fucking White House because it's not your house. So how he's just able to come in and demolish the East Wing, which hosts, for those of you that don't know, the East Wing is the First Lady's where her office is or was. It's also the public entrance to the White House for the tours and all that kind of stuff, which, they haven't been during the tours. They cut those out. And so there's a lot of things that happened in the East Wing of the White House. So, and I guess because your wife can't stand you and she doesn't live in the White House and she doesn't even have an office out of the White House, I guess you thought it was no need to keep it. But when he first talked about this, I don't even what they're calling the Epstein ballroom. I love that. So when he first started talking about the Epstein ballroom, he promised that it would not even touch the White House, that they wouldn't have to do any construction. But, so not only have you permanently paved over the rose garden, because the last time y'all tore it down, the Bidens just went in and replanted it. So now you can't even replant the fucking rose garden for your pimped out patio or whatever. Now you've torn down the East Wing for your $300 million Epstein ballroom. And that list of donors that they had, those were all the companies that they had fleeced who had donated to his campaign. So I'm like, is this what you're doing to your campaign funds? Because it's just, yeah. What? Take it over.
So I heard a conspiracy theory,
Okay.
and it makes sense to me. So let me know what you think.
Okay.
So one of the political commentators I listened to on TikTok, she said that what she thinks is the reason why instead of sticking to the word of having the ballroom next to the White House but not attached to the White House is because of the decision made in the Supreme Court, which states that any business that has to do with the presidency and the White House leads to immunity, right? You can't hold them accountable. If it was separated from the White House, all the business that happened in that ballroom, you can find a workaround to it, right? But if you attach it to the White House, anything that happens in that ballroom is White House business and the president's business, which means that he would have immunity to anything that happens. Any conversations that happens, any bribes that happened, it would lead to immunity because he can just say it was um the president's authority, or I can't think of the term right now, but president business. And so that's the reason why instead of putting it to the side, they have destroyed the East Wing in order to attach it to the White House so that they continue their criminal activity. They don't have to put cameras in the White House, in the ballroom. So there doesn't need to be cameras. And ultimately, things that happen there, there could be no record of it. And if there is at any point, he can get away with it because he can just say that it was president business.
I understand that, but anything on the complex, because the White House covers anything that's on that 16 acres because it's all part of the White House. So I I could understand that, but it would still technically be the White House because it's on the property. So I think it kind of leads into the changes that he's making. First of all, he shouldn't have done it. We can all agree that it's illegal. But it goes into to me, it leads into the whole idea of he's acting like he's not going to leave. And so this week, people need to pay attention to the talk of a third term. CNN has been saying for a while now that they are working on getting him a third term and that they are working on a workaround. And so just like when they start talking too much,
They
I
reveal a
guess
lot.
taking the temperature, they realize nobody wants that. Now they're pulling it back because even Trump has said it, third term, whatever. So to me, this is the new Project 2025, the third term. They realize how unpopular it is. So now they're just like, oh, it was a joke. It was, there's no way around it. Ha ha ha. There's no legal path to a third term.
Because nobody was on board with it when they kept saying it over and over. They were testing the
Yeah.
waters, you're right.
And it's like, it's impossible. Don't believe the hype. Okay. They are working on the third term. Don't fall for that bullshit like y'all fell for Project 2025.
But is how so they've discussed the third term, right? And so I think it was Bannon. I think it was Bannon. Don't quote me on that, but I think it was Bannon, where they asked him, "Well, how will you get that to happen with the 22nd Amendment?" Right? So how will you get that to happen? The third term is based on who he gets to run. So when they asked Bannon this, he explained it as in, let's say it, it was JD Vance. JD Vance would run and win the election and then immediately step down after he's inaugurated. And that would lead to a third, like when they asked him to explain how they would get it done, not saying that this is the only way, I'm sure they're sitting around trying to figure out ways around it. I get it. But in his automatic thought, like that was one of the ways that he said they could get it done with him getting a third term is having someone run as the president, them winning the election and then stepping down and Trump automatic because Trump would run as VP, which I don't understand because he is too narcissistic to be second. But he would run as VP, the person would step down, and then he would immediately become president of the United States. That was the thought process. And then my question was, who are you going to find to do that? Because JD Vance wouldn't do that.
Mm-mm.
Like who would you find to do that? Who would be able to win the election and then also be willing to step down to allow you to have a third term?
And Trump himself said, and I agree with you, running as vice president would be too cute because, like you said, he's too much of a narcissist to even step back and try to play second fiddle for anything.
Yeah.
So the only way I see around it is the test run is coming up in 2026. There's been talk about how they can, because I think they even realize that their redistricting is
Isn't
going to
going
backfire.
yeah, it's not working the way they think.
It's not working the way they think. And Prop 50 in California is going to pass. And that is Gavin did what the red states did not do. And he took it to the people. So Tuesday is election day for really off term elections and some governors' races and filling some seats. Here in Texas, filling, I think, the seat for Sylvester Turner and some of the other Congress people who may have passed or something like that. So special elections, what have you. And Prop 50 is on the ballot in California, and it's going to pass with about 70, nearly 60, between 60 and 70% of the vote. And they were saying that Sacramento and smaller places, Republican districts, are already preparing for how that's going to work. And even in red states, people are truly pissed off about the redistricting just because you're taking away the will of the people. Just because the state is quote unquote red doesn't mean the people that live there are red. It means the majority of people who go out and vote are Republicans, and that's historically been the case. So I need Democrats to get off their asses and start voting. I need y'all to stop thinking that this is a perfect thing, that this is a perfect system. Get off of your one ideological
Mhm.
thing, and just because the candidate is not perfect, that you think you don't have to vote or you're not going to vote is your protest vote. Voting doesn't matter. Stop falling for the gaslighting bullshit. It
Do what you
matters.
need to do to we can figure everything else out later. But
Mhm.
our priority right now is using the power that we have, which as of right now is still voting, and voting to save our democracy. Like, it's not about, and I will separate saving the country is very different from saving our democracy. But saving our democracy, saving the way that our government has always functioned and how we have been able to progress as a nation, making sure that we save that. Everything else is second fiddle. And I agree with you. I need a lot of these because we always think Republicans are one issue voters. There are a lot of Democrats that are one issue voters. And that is the reason why we kind of like we get wins and then all of a sudden we crash and burn. It's always wins, crash and burn, wins, crash and burn, because we get wins. We kind of be like, oh, we feeling really good. Let's go back to, those one issue votes. And then we crash and burn again. And the Republicans come in and enjoy, feeding off of our carcasses. And so it needs to be, what do we need to do in order to get what we need to get? And so California, I think, is going to be I want to say catalyst, but you can correct me if that's not the right term. The catalyst for all the other like major Democrat states falling in line and doing it themselves with this redistricting, even if it's temporary, in order to get back the seats that Republicans are ultimately going to steal for the 2020 election.
Yeah, the 2026. And the other thing is that they are trying to, so they know it's not popular. They realize that this gerrymandering thing, redistricting, they're the same thing. We talk about we're talking about how language, that's, I think that's our theme of this season, how language and wording matters, how you need to explain what you're talking about, making the connections. Redistricting and gerrymandering are the same thing. Gerrymandering just seems to have a negative connotation,
Yeah.
so they go with redistricting, but it's still the same. It's backfiring. The people are not with it. And so there is this talk. Pay attention to Venezuela. I think it's connected. There's going to be something that they try to do to postpone the 2026 elections, because they know even Republicans, and I'm talking about the people, not the party, but I'm talking about the people. When I say Republicans, I'm not talking about MAGA. That is a cult in and of itself, but I'm talking about most normal Republicans who get their heads out of their asses and realize that this is not the way the country is supposed to be run. They're even upset about all the stuff that he's doing, because this isn't America. Okay. A president, because of the success of protest, and he said he wants to put them down. The No Kings, which was going on during our last episode, was a huge success. And for a president of the United States or anyone in power to make a fucking meme or gif of him defecating on the crowd of people, what the fuck is that? You know? So they're trying what they can to see how they can disrupt the elections. Um, 2026 is the first test, because he knows that he is going to be impeached. Now, I was about today years old when I learned, I think I understand now why it is so difficult to impeach, not impeach, but to convict a president. Because when you impeach the president, you're basically, or not impeaching, because impeaching is basically charging them. So they've been impeached. But when you remove the president, I did not realize you were removing the entire executive branch. Like the vice president goes, the cabinet.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, I was today years old when I learned that too.
So it
They
wouldn't
just
be.
went to the next because they're all complicit. Ri Okay, it makes sense. I got it.
And so and I was like, okay, but this entire, everyone needs to go. Everyone, because
I
they're all, the adults have left the building. I hate it both.
They didn't come into the building this time, Eddie.
Yeah, exactly. And so even when you, like, he fired the fucking rear admiral who was the career researcher for the naval and replaced it with some 30-year-old doge dwit who doesn't know shit about the military.
Yeah.
And I'm like, these are not just
They're not just
and I
jobs. It keeps Yeah.
the fucking safety of our country is national fucking security. You think that weather is not national security. It is. You think that you think that it's not important to have ambassadors in these places, but it is. They are, I don't know how to explain it without just sounding crazy.
When you I'll try to just the two things you last mentioned. When it comes to weather, what people don't understand or just don't think about is when a natural disaster hits anywhere in the United States, it makes us immediately vulnerable. Because at any point, while we're trying to deal with that natural disaster, anywhere that it is, that's where our focus is, which means that if our enemies really wanted to, if they really, really wanted to, they could attack us and we would not be 100% prepared for the attack. And the reason why is because not just our government, but citizens' attentions is on that natural disaster. And what would happen is that, let's say that we're attacked. Let's say we have a natural disaster southeast. Okay, just because, they always have hurricanes. All right. And we're so focused on helping them, and then we get attacked on the West Coast. And what we have to understand is majority of our focus goes to that attack on the West Coast, and people start to die in the Southeast. And people don't understand that, like, that's the reason why we should always be prepared when we see natural disasters happening. If there's a tornado, our government should immediately step in to help and to rebuild as soon as possible so that we can go back to where our attention needs to be on the safety all over the country. And
And
that also connects to our ambassadors, because a lot of people don't understand what ambassadors do. And basically, they keep people friendly to us, right? And we have to understand that right now, whether you like it or not, whether you care or not, we are not respected around the world. And this is the first time since our country was formed that we lack respect for other countries. We lack respect from our allies who have been our friends and our allies for centuries, for over 100 years. And we also lack respect from our enemies. We lack fear from our enemies. Our enemies are not scared of us. Russia is not scared of us. North Korea is not really scared of us. Like, yeah, they're not trying to attack us. No. But what they're doing is they're very strategic. They are sitting in rooms with their military leaders and they're talking about how we are not the same threat that we used to be. And people do not understand that that also puts us in a dangerous position. Live in those countries and they're constantly in contact with the leaders of those countries, constantly in contact with the prime ministers, the presidents, the chancellors, whatever you call them, in those countries in order to make sure that we do what is necessary so that they don't turn their backs on us. And instead, we're like, they don't really serve a purpose. Like, why do we need that? Like, who cares? We're the greatest country in the world. How did we become the greatest country in the world? Like, we became the greatest country because we spent money all over the world and we convinced so many countries to allow us to have military bases in their country. And we also became very powerful in the fact that we always denied other countries from doing it to us. And now we have opened all sides, okay, to whoever can bribe the president of the United States. And for people to think that that is not a dangerous thing, to know that none of our ambassadors are hired who actually have the skill set to be the ambassador in the countries that they're in. That is dangerous because that means they don't know how to build relationships and they don't know how to build favorability to the United States from those countries. Instead, they're building this mindset with what can you do for our president, not for the United States. That's not how they're asking the question. What can you do for our president? They would even take it so far as what can you do for Donald Trump? That is dangerous. That is what our ambassadors are now doing. That's the conversations that they're having is what can you do for Donald Trump? not the country, but for one man. Like,
And yeah, because it's like how and I thank you for tying that together because it just went but it's also a matter of you taking down all the weather satellites. Those are extra satellites. It's a matter of you having these people who basically, for all intents and purpose, they're the secretary on the state and the ground. They represent the United States. They're the mini president on the ground at that place. And they're basically everyone knows that the country is for sale. Just take
yeah.
this Asian tour he just went on. They gave him shiny toys and he walked away with nothing. He got a king, South Korea gave him a crown, a gold crown. And basically all they want is for their people to come back and not be harassed, which is going to
And
happen.
they said no. Like, if you I don't know if you saw it when they did the interview with, is he called the president of South Korea?
Mhm.
When they did the interview with the president of South Korea and he was talking, he didn't say it directly, but when you really listen to the words that he used, he basically let us know they're never coming back. They're not coming back to the United States. And his job when he went over there, or the job of the Secretary of State when he went over there, was to convince South Korea to bring that business back to the United States. And he said no. Like, we have to protect our people because they're still angry over there at what we did to them. They are still they holding a grudge. Like, maybe, like, the government is going to do what it does because at the end of the day, yeah, you're the president of the United States, right? And they need your support because of where South Korea is and their major city, Seoul. Okay? They're going to need to cater in a way to the United States to make sure that if they're ever attacked, that we step up and we help them out, which is not a 100% surety. But when you really, like, focus on how do the people of Korea feel, they said no, we ain't doing it. Like, we're not going back to America because they had us fucked up. And
And
people need to understand that, like, that's billions of dollars gone.
it was an international disaster on so many
Yeah.
levels because of your fucking racism, what you did. And you still have not deported more people than Obama did. You still have not deported more people than
We're
Biden
just
did.
more public with it.
You just more public and cruel about how you're
Yeah.
trying to go about this, but you lied on Japan, Toyota, saying they're gonna give a $10 billion investment. Toyota turns around right away and say, You got us fucked up. We ain't say
He
shit."
ain't even know what the man name was, Eddie. He said, "Mr. Toyota."
Be surprised. And then she played you like a fucking fiddle. They're buying the same okay, so as we've talked about before, China was the biggest investor, exporter of our soybeans. They had bought $0 worth of soybeans because they started buying from our competition, Argentina, who we're still fucking bailing out, by the way. You're welcome,
40
Argentina.
billion
And the beef. Don't forget the beef.
and the beef.
And so you go over there and you basically get him to agree to buy the same, if not less than what they had been buying before. And you give him the fucking chips that we have been trying so hard to keep out of their fucking hands. So now the UAE, who's funding the fucking genocide in Sudan,
Mhm.
has access to our chips. Qatar has access to our chips. And now you've given our biggest competition enemy access to chips that we never wanted them to fucking have because you don't know what the fuck you're doing when it comes to
Neither
being
does your fucking people.
president of the United States. You don't know what the fuck you're doing when it comes to business. Understand now how you went bankrupt 6 fucking plus times. I understand now how you fucking bankrupted Atlantic City and casinos. The house always wins. You give me a fucking casino, bitch, I'm richer than a motherfucker, okay?
That's right.
Billionaire. Cha-ching. You don't know how to run a business unless that business is enriching Donald Trump. And not everything is about you. So here's the thing. You got the soybeans back. The farmers, yeah, you think people should be jumping up for joy and it should be bigger news, but here's the fucking thing, if you hadn't interfered in the first place, the business would have never been gone. They're not going to ever fully recover from this, at least not while you're in fucking office. You gave away, again, national security, because that's what it comes down to. That's why we didn't want China to have those chips. It was a matter of national security. So the question goes back to what we were just talking to. What the fuck was truly in it for you? What did you get? Because we know you didn't do this for the good of the country. What did China promise him? Not the United States, because we know they're just bringing back their business at the same level or less than it was before. You got these fucking chips that you've been wanting for years. What did Trump get personally? That's the question people need to be asking, because you know this man does nothing for this country without it benefiting him.
Also want to say, don't think I don't think I believe that China is going to go back to buying our soybeans close to the level that they were before.
I
And the
don't believe
reason
it
why is
either.
because it's not only Argentina that they were getting soybeans from, but they also made a deal with Brazil. And so making a deal with Brazil, making a deal with Argentina, to buy soybeans from them, you just buying extra soybeans, that doesn't make any sense. So
And
to
Brazil
me,
is one of your economic I'm sorry, Brazil is one of your economic partners in the whole thing to get off of the US dollar.
yes, because they're part of BRICS. And so I think it's just words. I don't think that the farmers are gonna recover. I don't think that this is actual business for them. Now, are they Imma be very direct. Are they intelligent enough to understand this without just believing words that is said not only by him, but by the media that is complicit in what's happening in our country? I don't know. But when I hear that, my first question is, so what happened to the deal that China has with Brazil and Argentina to buy their soybeans? What's going on with that deal? If you made this deal for them to all of a sudden go back to buying our soybeans, what happens with the deal that they made with those other countries? Like,
Yeah, they're not.
are they just gonna throw them to the side? Like, that don't make no sense. I don't think what China's trying to do in the world, and they're doing a better job at it now because they learned from the mistakes that we made when we started it. Because we we've had a stronghold on a lot of these countries like in Africa and South America, Latin America, but we stomp really, really heavy in these countries. And that is how we were able to get them to fall in line. And they're starting to not fall in line. And China, one thing I've noticed is China has learned from those mistakes. And China is going in and saying, hey, I'm going to help you like with technological advancements. Okay. I'm going to bring the internet to your whole entire country. I'm going to make sure the internet gets to the rural areas of your country. And they're like, well, what do you want? Nothing right now. But let's say that you find oil, just because it's a big commodity. Let's say that you find oil 3 years from now. We want to be the first country that you contact. We want to be the first country that you make deals with. And that's something that China is doing now. That's the reason why China has a foothold now, because I won't even say they're trying to get a foothold. They have a foothold now in Africa, in the continent of Africa. And that's one thing that they did with a lot of those countries that have these commodities that the world wants. And they're now doing it also in South America and Latin America, where they're building relationships with these countries. And so I'm like, I don't see them throwing these countries to the side just to come back to a country that disrespected them for months. Like, I don't see it. So yeah, it's just very suspicious to me. And anyone who likes like, see, he's doing something. Is he?
And I haven't paid enough attention, but the thing is, you got to pay attention to these because the things that he's getting, these rare earth mineral deals, I know it has something to do with AI, So I need to do more research on why those are the deals that he's signing. Because with South Korea, it was a rare earth mineral deal. With someone else, I want to say also Japan, it was one of those rare earth mineral deals. And so that seems to be his focus. And I know it has something to do with AI. And because that's the whole reason why they wanted Greenland. He was so initially trying to go to war with Greenland. And Greenland was told JD, don't leave that don't leave that Air Force base.
Remember that. He stayed his behind right where he was.
Yeah, like, look, motherfucker, don't leave that Air Force base. So I need to do more research on that and see what the big what that is about. But again, it all goes back to why you've been bankrupt so many times. You're a horrible businessman. You're a horrible president. I hope people finally get over their fucking racism and misogyny.
Never that.
I know. And do what's best for this country. I know. One could hope. Speaking of being a horrible president, as we talked about, today is the 1st of November. SNAP benefits were supposed to expire. Two federal judges ruled yesterday. Two different federal judges ruled no.
You
Now
have to use
Trump
the
is
reserve.
slow walking, playing dumb, pretending like he doesn't know how to fund the system when the system was shutdown proof. They had purposely designed the federal assistance programs to be shutdown proof, where they are already funded throughout. They're funded and they continue throughout any government shutdown. That was one thing that should never be touched during the shutdown. Okay. But now he's acting like he doesn't know how to use the reserves or use the money without it being spelled out by a fucking court. And I'm like, the cruelty is the fucking point. 42 million people, over 10% of American people, are on some type of government assistance. They get SNAP. Watching I was watching something the other day, I think it was Nicole. They talked about the tens of thousands of pounds of food, the tons of food that was set aside for this program that is just going to go to waste. Food and money that is going to go to waste because you're fucking cruelty. You are using hunger of America's most vulnerable as a fucking political tool. And for those of you and I'm sure the people who watch, I don't know, but for those of you who may watch this or hear this or don't know this, most of the people that are receiving that assistance in this country don't look like me and Tammy. So when you hear legislators, Republicans from Louisiana talking about ghetto welfare queens using SNAP to get their nails done, there's no such thing. You can't use SNAP to get your fucking nails done.
It's for food.
Okay. When you hear about them, and I think it was Thune. I want to say his name was Thune, but I'm quoting an actual fucking Republican legislator. Using this to get your fucking weaves done. This is not a weave, first of all. I'm not on Snap. But again, you cannot use it to get your fucking hair done. It is for food. When you go to the grocery store and you are on SNAP, it will tell you when you ring up what is eligible for SNAP. And then it will make you pay the rest. You can't get cleaning supplies on SNAP. You can't get feminine hygiene supplies on SNAP. How do I know this? Because during Harvey, my house was destroyed. And through FEMA assistance, that was part of the assistance we got through FEMA. Again, I am not downplaying, I'm not judging anybody who is on assistance. We all need help. Also, for those of you who may not realize it, I hope you do because of inflation and everything else that is going on in country. We started off talking about how fucking expensive Halloween candy is, right?
Yeah.
There is a thing called the fucking working poor. When the federal minimum wage has not been raised from $7.25 in this fucking country, but your average starter home is 300 fucking $1,000. Yes, people still get up every day and go to work 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 hours a week and can barely pay their rent and don't have enough left over to feed their family, so they need that fucking assistance. Get off of your fucking high horses. because God forbid something would ever happen to you
Mm,
and you need that assistance. We live in a hurricane area. I don't live in a flood zone. Harvey was not supposed to destroy my house, but it fucking did. Thank God for FEMA. Because now this hurricane, I was so happy that this was a quiet hurricane season
mm,
because I knew I had to make sure all my insurances were paid up because I knew there was no one coming to help. So the fact that you're letting over 10% of this fucking country starve because you are so fucking mean and so cruel is disgusting to me. And then now you want to pretend like it's not even your fucking money. It's my money. So I want to know what you're doing with my money. If you're not doing what I'm paying it to do. I don't care about feeding. I don't care about my money going to SNAP. I want my money to go to SNAP. I want my money to go to Head Start programs. I want my taxpayer dollars to do what it's supposed to do and help my fellow citizens. I wanted to pay my mom's Social Security. I wanted to pay those things. I wanted to pay my Social Security because I'm paying into that.
mhm.
And for you to act like you don't know what you're supposed to do now for a program that you shouldn't have even fucking touched. Again, for those of you that aren't familiar, I can't remember what page this is, but this is part of Project 2025, FYI.
It is. I always have to say that we focus so much on Trump that, not to say there's anything wrong with it, but we focus so much on Trump that a lot of Republicans skate by. And it needs to be said that while Trump gets a lot of the blame and responsibility for the financial situation that we're in as a country, so do the leaders of the Republican Party. Mike Johnson gets just as much blame as Trump
So
because
much.
cruelty is the point. Cruelty. And cruelty is not only something that Trump does well, but there are a lot of Republicans that are on board with this Project 2025. There are a lot of Republicans who are cheering for this. And I'm not talking about their supporters. I'm talking about our politicians, our senators, our representatives, our judges who are on board with this. And they need to suffer the consequences. I said this last show. I know I said this last show because I was real passionate about this. And I'm going to reiterate it one more time. I'm going to have to repeat it one more time. If we make it out of this, I want heads on pikes. Every single one of them. I swear to God. If the Democrats do what the Republicans did, let me not say it like that because people are not smart enough to understand the difference in the flip of the parties. I apologize. If the Democrats do what happened after the Civil War and they allow the South again, because let's look at it this way. Let's look at the map. Let's look at the map. Once again, it's the same region of the United States as it's always been. If they allow the South to get away with this for a second time, y'all all got to go. Every single one of you has to go. I need people to come in who's going to do what is necessary. I should never have to feel like I need to survive this another time in the lifetime that I'm living. Like I should not. And I feel like if they don't punish these people, we're going to go through this again. We're going to go through this again. If you do not punish every single one of them. When I think about like the fact of like, I tell people this when I talk about SNAP benefits and people want to joke about it, right? Or they want to laugh it off. And I said, besides people always saying you're one paycheck away, it could be you. People don't care. People don't care. But what I do say is that when you joke about this, it does show that you're inhumane. And I always have to let people know when they try to throw out like, oh, do you want these people on it? Shouldn't they have a job? I don't care. I don't care. I want children to be fed. I want adults to be fed. You know, a lot of times we focus on the children, I get it, and the senior citizens. But I want every adult to have the nutrition that they need to not go hungry and not starve. Like,
Agreed.
I want you to have the food that you need, and not just basic food, but I want you to taste good food. I want you to have desserts, okay? I want you to be able to eat some ice cream every once in a while, make yourself feel good, right? While you gain some weight, because you get fat off of that. But and there's other people who don't. And you know what throws me off? And the reason why I tell people that I am not religious and I do not identify anymore as a Christian. And I know people still do, but I do not. And the reason why is because cruelty is a point, and every single person that is being cruel right now, whether they're on social media or whether they're working on our government, identifies themselves as a Christian. And people can be like, oh, that's not what Christianity is. It's the Christianity that they've been selling for centuries. And it may not be what you practice. This is just on a next level where people are like, they would deport Jesus if he was here. The Lord's son? Like, really? Oh, I pay taxes so that everybody can be taken care of, because I know when I get into a situation, I want to be able to turn to my government and get the assistance that I need. That's the reason why I will say I've never understood this whole thing of, I didn't go to college, so I shouldn't be paying your college tuition. And to know that at one point college was free. College was free. To get a bachelor's degree, it was free. And then too many Black people started to get educated. And when we started to become too educated, that's when we started to have to pay money. Ronald Reagan started that mess in California. Okay? And we are now suffering the consequences. And then you allow rich people who do nothing for their fucking money to know that the richest family in this country has never worked a fucking day of their life. And just because they have billions of dollars, you think that they're more important and significant than I am. When I pay into the system through my blood, sweat, and tears, as well as my money. And we look to rich people and we hold them up on a pedestal just because they're rich. And when you ask them, well, what did they do to get rich? You can't tell me. You can't tell me what the Waltons have done to become the richest family in the country. You can't tell me what Elon, huh? Is it the Waltons? Or the Waltons. What is it called? What are they?
Walmart,
But what's the family name?
the Waltons.
The Waltons. Okay. All right. I was trying to make sure I got the name right. What they have done in order to, be where they at. Or what has Elon Musk done to almost become a trillionaire at this
Rob a
point?
lot of country, invest in countries, trick them, sign them out of their IP, and then
Exactly. Right. But we looked at him and we'd be like, but like, he's the richest man.
and he's
How?
trash. I
He's a horrible human being. He's a racist, horrible human being. Like,
I
like,
don't begrudge
oh my
people.
gosh.
We live in a capitalist system, so I don't begrudge people of their money, and I'm not one to tell people how to spend their money, but I do.
I think you need to work for it though.
I don't judge, like, try not to judge, but Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, I'm not gonna put all the Waltons because some of them are a little different, you gotta find them. But, I think when you don't give back, when you don't like, I remember, even during the robber baron age, they tried to offset their greed with philanthropy.
They were giving away millions of dollars.
So you knew people knew the side of John Astor, who was a fucking ruthless asshole. But people also knew the side of John Astor who donated to libraries and hospitals, and Vanderbilt even had a university built in fucking Nashville, Tennessee after him. But just in case you didn't know, Vanderbilt is named after that Vanderbilt, who is Anderson Cooper's grandfather. And if you look up at pictures, they do look alike. You can see the resemblance. The nose. It's in the nose.
He's the poor side, but yes.
But, so you had a time when people wanted to do good with their money, when they wanted to give back and build hospitals. If I was the richest person in the world, damn near a trillionaire, you could best believe that I would be doing stuff to help try to stop the fucking genocide in the Sudan, to help rebuild Gaza for the fucking Palestinians, not the people who destroyed it so they can build, I would want hospitals and shit built after me, not to cover up the cruel shit that I've done, but to help others. You can't. I get it, and I know we're two different
But that's the
people.
reason why you would never be a billionaire, right? When they ask
Hey,
people,
hey, hey, don't speak that into my life.
but
I would
no,
never be that type of billionaire, but don't speak that into girl.
but it's just a professor.
Look, I could be an Oprah billionaire. Just give me 1 or 2 billion.
Oprah's just as horrible. See, see.
I'm just talking
Okay,
about money
so the
wise.
reason why is because when they ask people if you became a multimillionaire, right? What would you do? Okay, and it determines if would you actually be able to fully become a multimillionaire. And so most people have the same mindset as you, where they would want to build schools and hospitals and help their community, right? After you help yourself and your family and people closest to you, you would then work on helping your community, right?
Mhm.
And the professor, economics professor said, and that is the reason why most of y'all will never be millionaires. Because to be a millionaire and stay a millionaire, or a billionaire and stay a billionaire, you have to do some fucked up shit. And
And
most
here's the
people are
thing.
not willing to do that.
And you know me. You know me. I tell people all the time, don't mistake the voice and the
Mhm.
face and think that there's just sweetness under here. I have a dark side. I'm
Yeah.
not even gonna lie. And I understand what you have to do in business. I understand the ruthlessness of business. But I also have a moral point.
Yes.
Okay. And so I'm not
But you'd
saying,
have to still be vicious and that would be the thing. Like, if you would be willing to be vicious and ruthless, then you can definitely achieve that goal.
and
But if you're
trust
not
me,
willing to be that, you'll never achieve that goal.
I get it. I'm not saying, and when I say I'm not Elon I'm not, and I'm not trying to justify the dark side, but and that's what someone said. I
You're not
understand
cruel
what
to be cruel. You would never be
yeah,
cruel to be cruel.
yeah, I understand you do have to have a ruthless streak to be in business. I'm trying to start several of them, and I get it, and I understand what is involved, and I understand that not all your decisions are going to be made out of generosity, that you can't just be, but you also don't have to be, like you said, an asshole to be an asshole's sake.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a destructor or destroyer to be a destroyer's sake. I still think you can do what you need to do to survive in business and still be a generous person, that you can do. You can do. Look at McKinsey. She's trying her damnedest to give away that Amazon money. You know what I'm saying? You can still do what you need to do and not be a philanthropist. But I'm serious. If you're fucking the richest person in the world, damn near a trillionaire, you can afford to be a little generous.
I agree. I think that I also think something with those individuals, especially during that time, the Gilded Age and all of that, it was they were worried about their legacy. That's why a lot of them put their names on buildings, so their legacy and their name could live beyond them. I do not think that any of these individuals currently right now are worried about their legacy. I don't think that they're worried about if they're going to heaven or hell. A lot of people talk now and they're like, oh, they're not going to heaven. They're not going to get into heaven. And I always have to say they don't care. They don't care what happens to them after they die. It doesn't matter to them when they die. They care about how they live their life. And people need to understand that, yeah, there are people who care about that. It's true. And that works on them. You telling them what is going to be your legacy. But for someone like Mitch McConnell, he doesn't fucking care. Mitch McConnell doesn't care what his legacy is, because when he realized that all of those decisions that he made, and he realized the negative effect that it was having before, like, because Mitch McConnell's gone now, but he ain't dead, but but before that, I feel that he was proud of himself because he thought, like, this is going to be my legacy. And then he started to really see the consequences of those decisions that he made and how other people that came in after him continued it and made it worse. And now his legacy is destroyed. And I don't think at this point those people care about their legacy, how you look at them afterwards, how they're written in history books, because they will be dead. And they will not care after they die. Understand that it does not work for these people to tell them, oh, you're not going to make it into heaven. Oh, he's going to go to hell. He doesn't fucking care. Because a lot of them don't believe in it. A lot of them don't believe in this heaven and hell. They do not believe that they're going to suffer at all. They don't believe that. So,
Yeah,
you know,
I remember now, and when we were doing our pre-production, and I told you there was this one story, and we kind of just talked our way into it. And I just sent you it. The most dangerous of all of those people, believe it or not, is Peter fucking Thiel.
yeah.
And he has this thing in the whole heaven and hell thing. He thinks that the Antichrist are people who want to help people. He's the one who started this whole not giving your money to charity and being a philanthropist thing. He thinks that the Antichrist believes in climate change and fear of climate change and all of that kind of stuff. And he wants to start this like Walt Disney. I know people thought Disney was weird because he wanted to preserve himself and he wanted to freeze himself just in case they were able to bring you back to life. Thiel is a little different. This whole thing with his preservation is they want to put your spirit or your soul into these AI chips and you would be this AI robot. It's really freaky and really fucking scary. That's how they want to preserve you. So, the stuff that our parents were talking about the chips in your hand and the chips, it's coming because Musk is working on this brain chip. And I'm like, nah, I'm good on all that shit. The more we move to a cashless society, all of that shit, you got to pay attention to it. But yeah, Thiel is the most dangerous one of all of them. And he's a fucking nut job. But yeah, just looking at your face as you're reading it, it's crazy, isn't it?
Okay, so first things first, they say Musk is estimated to be worth $486 billion.
By 200, huh?
Why do they keep talking about this man like he at 900 billion?
Because the way they're projecting that within the next 2 to 3 years he will be the first trillionaire, especially if Tesla can rebound. So you've noticed he's been really, really quiet lately, right?
Mhm.
And that is part of the reason why. He also knows that, and in Kamala's book, she talks about how he kind of led him to go all in on Trump was that the Biden White House threw a party for Tesla. The one person they did not invite was Musk. And she told them that was a big mistake. And I agree. You don't have to like Musk, but how the fuck are you going to throw a party for this man's company and not invite him?
Okay. All
And
right. Yeah. I've heard multiple things, people talking more and more about Peter Thiel.
yeah, so I wanna say I'm gonna look into it more and send you the articles, and we can have a more fleshed out
Okay.
conversation about it on our next episode, but that was the thing that I kept looking for, that I was like, "Yeah, that's what I'm looking for," but, sticking back to what we were talking about, so just listen to this, okay? And it goes back to the president and the economy, and then we can move on. Um Job layoffs, UPS 48,000, Amazon 30,000, Intel 24,000, Nestle 16,000, Accenture 11, Ford 11, Microsoft 7, Paramount 2,000, so forth and so on. Those are all the layoffs announced within the past 3 weeks. And I was trying to explain to people the other day the difference between the economy and the stock market. How did the Great Depression happen? They didn't pay attention to the economic indicators. They let the stock market and its rise and how well it was doing continue to dissuade them or sway them from what was really happening in the economy. Economic indicators, housing, the housing market,
Yeah.
the car market, having more and more people who are upside down on their mortgages at this point, who are behind on their mortgages, having more and more people who are 6 months plus behind on their car notes, cars getting repoed, having all these companies announce layoffs. Those are economic indicators, not the stock market. The stock market is good for people who have money invested in the
In
stock market.
stocks.
So
everyday people is those. I agree. And I think when you talk about the housing market, I think also an indicator that we were in trouble is the fact that corporations are buying up houses. And they're not even being able to resell after they purchase those homes, which also is destroying the housing market as well.
it's definitely a buyer's market if you can afford it. But like I said, a
Most people
starter
can't though.
yeah, because a starter home now is $300,000, but most people's average salary is still the same, what, 60,000 for
Yeah.
between 48 and 60?
For it. And when you mentioned cars, and did you hear about what these car companies are now thinking about doing with these subscriptions? So multiple have announced it. GM, Toyota, Hyundai, um, mm, I think Ford's on board. And what they're gonna do is they're going to take out CarPlay out of vehicles and make you pay a subscription. So that means you will no longer be able to just connect your phone to your car in order to, let's say, play your music or use your navigation system. You will have to pay a subscription fee to use those features that are already in your vehicle, but they're going to basically make it so that even though they are in your vehicle, you will not be able to use them without paying a monthly subscription fee. So even after you pay off your car, you still have to pay a subscription fee to listen to music from your phone in your vehicle, to use the navigation system on your phone in your vehicle, even to the point where push to start, where they're going to make it where you have to pay a fee in order to have push to start.
When that's the only way you can fucking start your car?
Yeah. So
Because cars don't have
so
ignition.
you can also, go back to like, the key system, because the key is underneath is on the side of the push to start, because I have push to start. And the key is on the side. So there's always a key hole for to use your actual car key. But it's hidden, like, because they put I know for my car it's like a plastic thing over it, and I just have to pop that out. But why the fuck would I pop that out? That's what the push to start is. And so it's like all of these features that we have gotten very used to in our vehicles, they're now going to make it where you have to pay a subscription fee in order to do that. So it's a lifetime. And the reason why they're doing this is because people are not purchasing cars on the same level that they used to.
But when your average car costs about the same as your salary, like,
Yeah.
because I know when I got my car, which was 7 years ago, I know the sticker price was way higher, and we talked them down to less than half. But my car, and it had been a while since I bought a new car. So to me, the last time I bought a new car, I was just getting my first job. So it had been a long, long time, right? Because I'll drive a car till it fucking falls
Oh, look.
apart. Until it says like you no, we not gonna make it no more, okay? Um, but so the average financing for a car was 5 years, right?
Mhm.
And so when they come in 6, 7 years, I'm like, "What the fuck?" I'm like, "That." But then once I actually calmed down and I'm like, "Okay, the last time you bought a car, you was pretty much just fresh out of fucking college. Calm your nerves." And I was looking at how much the car actually cost and everything. And that was back then, and I will say the car was about $30,000, okay? Now the average cost of a car, baseline model car, is about 50. So, no, no one is doing that, and your financing is 6 to 7 years. And so I'm like, it's like everything keeps going up, but wages are not, and
Yeah.
that's what I'm trying to tell people to understand. Amazon, the week the internet shut down because of their AWS, and they were bragging about, "We got AI programming 80% of our shit." Well, no wonder your shit slows down.
Working now.
'Cause I'm telling you right now, ChatGPT is like a fucking child, okay? It's like you're doing all this shit, but you're laying off all these people. Amazon also announced that by 2033 they want to have 600,000 robots doing the jobs of people. If people don't have jobs, how the fuck do you afford them to pay for these $300,000 houses, which we know in the next few years the average
Gonna
starter
be
house is going to be
500,000.
$500,000.
Yeah.
The car is gonna be what, 70 for a base model car? So if people don't have jobs and their wages aren't going up, how the fuck do you corporate tycoons expect to make money? Because the first thing people stop doing is they stop buying stuff that is unnecessary.
Big ticket items as well. They stopped buying big ticket items.
Stop buying TV, stop buying cars, stop buying stuff that like, and I've slowed down on my shopping just because like Amazon, just because I hate Amazon. But sometimes it's like I call it the Walmart or the internet, just different things. So it's like you can't price people out of jobs and markets and still expect to make money. How does that work? If no one has a job, what are they doing? And I get it. You're trying to get it so people go back to these factory jobs and try to
That
replace
we
them.
don't have.
Thank you.
Like, we don't, like, what jobs and what factories? We don't have factories. That, like,
But we got fueled.
like, look, look, I will become an undocumented immigrant in Canada before I do that.
I told you. So, girl. So anyway,
And I only say Canada because I gotta go somewhere where I can speak the language.
so okay. So getting into speaking of layoffs, and I mentioned it with Paramount and
Yeah.
CBS laid off a lot of their news because they got Barry Weiss, who is not she's not a journalist. I don't know what the fuck to call her besides some overhyped podcaster who has these stupid racist, misogynistic opinions.
Mhm.
But she's the new head of CBS News through a deal that she made with I forgot the name of the family who took over CBS. But
I
anyway,
know you're talking about though, yeah.
yeah. They've gotten rid of their quote unquote DEI apartment, and I forgot exactly what they called it, but it turns out that most of the people who were let go off of CBS Evening News or the CBS News team, producers, all of them, most of them were people of color, including Lisa Ling, who is a well-renowned Asian journalist. Word is also that Gayle King is not being renewed. She hasn't said anything one way or the other, so she's part of the let go, I guess. And I guess they're giving her to the end of the year because they say she won't be coming back next year, but that's just unsubstantiated right now. Probably something that they didn't want to get out. But I need America to realize that you are not a white country. As much as you want to be a white country, you're not a white country. Part of the success of the last few years is that people of color, and I'm not just talking about black people, when we were talking about Bad Bunny earlier at the Super Bowl, people of color started seeing more of them doing things besides cleaning and cooking and shuffling and, being the jokes and stereotypes in all these different roles. It's no surprise that, with the exception of the Avengers, Black Panther is the most successful Marvel movie.
Mhm.
Bad Bunny is one of the most successful music artists in the world. You think you can put the quote unquote genie back in a bottle, but you can't. And it's not going to happen. You want to go back to this golden era of true on true racism. It's not gonna happen. Like you said, we're not going back to the fields. You are trying to strip away people's voting rights. It's not you No Kings showed you that it's not gonna happen. And the thing that I loved about No Kings and the success that they had, we talked about our last show, it wasn't fronted by us. That's the scary part for them is you realize that the loud, just because you're loud, you're not the majority. And so all of this shit that you're doing to placate this old ad um dementia-addled brain who wants to bring back nuclear testing, by the way, is not gonna work. It's not working.
Live through this age, yo. Like, why
We're
why
living in the
why
dumbest era.
why I gotta live through this era? Why? I thought that yes, I knew we would be advanced, but I thought that like we would progress so far. And instead, 2008, 2008,
Mhm,
it put so much fear into those white people.
mhm.
It scared them so much because they were like, "Ooh, we progressing, we doing good. Ooh, wait, hold on now. Hold on now, what y'all doing? What y'all doing? We looking a little different in the government. When people think about America, they're not just thinking about like white America. They're not just looking because that was their thing, is that they knew no matter how diverse we became, that around the world, they still identified America as a white country. And now we have become the melting pot that we always claim to be. And that's the fear that they have. Okay. And the proof was in the fact of the excitement of Obama when he was running, and the excitement when the joy when he won
Not once, but twice.
twice. And I will also say something else that solidified them trying to revert back to the good old days for them is because 50 years from now, 100 years from now, Obama will be known as one of the greatest presidents of the United States. Nobody likes all the policies, but when you look at history, his policies, what he was able to accomplish, how he projected, like how he presented himself to not only the country, but the world, he is going to go down as one of the greatest presidents. And to also he proved them wrong when they talk about us. And that's what they hated most, is that they tried to get him so much to fall into those stereotypes. They tried to get his wife to fall into those stereotypes. They tried to get his kids to fall into those stereotypes. And they never did. They never did. And I'm just like, y'all, like, why? Racism is expensive, y'all. It's
It's
so
cost us so much.
expensive.
But they don't realize how much it's cost us, and it's funny you should say that because I saw this, article about Michelle Obama, and she was talking about how when she wore her arms out, it was a big deal. It was so unladylike, but when Jackie Kennedy did it, it was praised, and she said it
Mhm.
wasn't the dress. Obama would have never been able to sell out this country. Not that he would have wanted to, if he would have even tried to tear down the West Wing or expand the Western Wing. And they talk about, well, of course, someone dug up something. And so there were some changes done to the White House, but those changes were approved under Bush. They just happened to take place. Like the process to change the White House is a long one. Right. So the changes that were approved that Bush applied to have done to the White House, they were actually done when Obama was in the White House. But had Obama actually applied to make changes in the White House, they wouldn't have been approved. And if he had just willy-nilly torn down a whole wing of the fucking White House, if he would have even tried to remodel a room in the White House. And now, going back to that, there's something sketchy going on with the contractors, but that's neither here nor there. I don't want to go back to that. But I was just saying, okay, have you seen a picture of Erica Kirk and JD Vance?
Did I saw the video as well. I watched the video.
Getting into the gossipy portion of the show.
So I will say that yes, the position of hands is suspicious. Before we get fully into it, I just want to put out my disclaimer that while we're talking about this, I don't give two fucking shits if he's cheating on his wife.
Agreed.
Not two shits if he's cheating on his wife. Because to be married to that man and have children with that man, you just like that man. You just happen to be Indian. But you agree with your husband. You share his same ideologies.
She's in
Okay?
the sunken place.
Yes. And you about to have this blonde-headed sociopathic white woman take your man.
There were bets. The internet can be a great place sometimes, especially when it comes to the tea and just the messiness. There were bets that by the time he ran for president, she would be Mrs. Vance. They're already in a court, and I don't pay attention to it, but according before this even came out, there were divorce rumors circulating around the Vance. Now, around the Vances. Now, I told you the last time we talked that he was looking really bad, even for him. I don't pay attention to them enough to know about the divorce rumors, but I just know that the way she was talking about, "There will never be anyone to replace my Charlie, my husband, but JD," like, it was all just a little too familiar,
It was.
but
And
then
the
you
hug, it was it was her hand. Like, the waist thing can be, excused, right, on where his hands were on her waist. But it's where she positioned her hand in his hair of a married man, and that's what threw me off, right? And if you watch the video, it was really quick. Like, it wasn't a hold, right? Like, they didn't hold onto each other. It was like they hugged, they got into the position, the photo was taken, and then they released, right? So it wasn't a hold on each other. But it was when you go in for that, that was disrespectful to his wife.
it
You
was a
don't
level.
hold a married man like that.
Yeah, even quickly, it reminded me of our
Yeah,
favorite
even quickly.
political drama show, Scandal.
Mhm.
It was one of those quick, nuanced Olivia and Fitz things.
Yes, where you knew something was up, okay? But, like, is it though? If not, they like each other though.
Mhm.
They like each other, they talking, they flirting. Because even if something has not happened, you cannot tell me with that hug that they did that they are not flirting with each other. That that woman and that man don't flirt with each other every single time that they get together.
And, of course, Nick Fuentes, the king of the closeted Republicans, he because the MAGAs, they do be fighting.
Mhm.
He was like, "JD is a fat gay somebody married to a racial slur that I will not repeat," so I'm like, the girls are fighting again." But
Yo, how people talk about your wife and how you allow them to talk about you, which means when you talk about these people, you talk about their wives, and they want to get it up in arms and being like, "Oh, don't do that because one day their children are going to see it." Like, do you realize that everything that people say about your wife and the disrespect and the fact that you don't never defend her or you kind of brush it off, your children are going to hear that.
your
And
children are already hearing it. They're old
yeah,
enough.
how old are they? I don't even know.
They're in their early preteens, like, I think the
Oh,
oldest
okay.
is maybe 4.
I don't know why I was thinking they were like 5, 6 years old. But
So, I think they do have one that is younger, like, the youngest is about that age, but the other ones, they're up
they're
in.
old enough.
Yeah.
And from what I see, clearly mixed. Okay. Like you can look at his kids and be like,
They
yeah,
look
those
more
ain't
like her than him.
yeah, those ain't white children, right? So now the fact that you married, I never understand this whole granted, a lot of times it's they're attracted to us, but it's not part of their brand kind of thing. So he marries her, you have kids with her, y'all share the same politics, of course. Okay, I understand that. All right, she's all on board with it. Your kids become an adult, and that's all they're going to hear.
But
They're
here's
going
the
to hear about how people referred to Indian. I don't know. I don't have Indian friends to like really like have conversations with about like sorry. It's like I'm trying to think of like how to put my thoughts out on. I know that a lot of the from what I've heard from, is a lot of Indian Americans who come to America are more of the upper class Indian Americans, right? The poverty stricken Indian Americans do not or Indians, sorry, do not come to America to afford it, right? Because while yes, India's economy is growing, a large part of their population is extremely poor, right? Like poor to the point where like not our poor, like that whole different level of poor. And so the ones that come here think they're better than, all right, in a lot of ways. And so while you can have that mindset, how do you get around? Because I'm like thinking like Vivek, I'm thinking about Bobby Jindal. Like, how do you Cash Patel? Like, how do you get around the fact that you are surrounding yourself with people that look at you with hatred, who have no respect for you, who have no respect for your culture, who are extremely racist to your face. Like, I get how you hang around people who are blatantly racist to your face, who will tell you to your face, "Oh, I would never vote for you because you Indian or you brown." Like, how does that work on you? I don't know. I don't know. Like, it throws me
I think
off.
Vivek is the one who is most closely, um, in his run for Ohio governor, second guessing his political allegiances, I would assume. But I think the one thing that people keep forgetting about JD Vance is that he literally sold his soul to the devil. He has not always been a Republican. He was a Democrat. He
Did not
was
know
a
that.
He wanted to be part of the Hollywood liberal elite. When his book Hillbilly Elegy came out, he was one of the ones. It was around the time that the movie bombed. And then he went to Silicon Valley and met his benefactor. I'm just going to leave it at that, not get into the rumors. Peter Thiel. Thiel groomed him and pushed him to run for senator of Ohio. And that's around the time that his political change happened. When he ran during this transformation, she started working for one of the conservative law firms on K Street or in DC, one of the political conservative. So they have not always been this Republican power couple.
Okay, good. Okay.
So it happened around the time that the movie bombed. He didn't get the reception in Hollywood he thought he was going to get. So again, he took the route of the mediocre white man who wanted to play the victim. And I'm like, you're like everybody else who may have had a fucking best-selling book who tried to turn it into a movie and it didn't do great. But, the whole grievance thing, and I guess going to Silicon Valley and working under Peter Thiel, and then that's where the whole political ambitions and that switch happened. So I think people forget that they haven't always been this, and not justifying it, but it goes back to, again, he sold his soul to the devil.
Okay. That does kind of put it, and in turn, she did as well. So now you suffer the consequences of other people coming in, seeing the power that he currently has, and wanting to be as close to that power as possible. And being part of that power is stealing your husband from you.
Because I think, if I'm not mistaken, just like a lot of people, a lot of these political couples, with the exception of Melania, I think she is probably the smarter of the two. I think she did not want this. I don't think she wanted the second Trump term. I don't think she wanted him to win. And that's just
Who?
me. I'm not justifying it because now, huh?
Who didn't want one?
I
Okay.
don't think she wanted this. And I'm not justifying it. I'm not defending her, but just she never looks happy. And again, I'm not trying to project. I'm just saying I've never seen the woman look happy. And if you've seen the pictures of her, her hair has progressively gray. Like she just looks older and
I seen
unhappier.
it.
And so, and that's what I say. It's what happens when you sell your soul to the devil. You get what you get. But to me, I have a problem, and I get it, not addressing every rumor. But damn it, you gonna stop talking about my kids. If I were a parent, I get, and that's what I tell people. I get
No, you gonna stop
protect.
talking about my wife as well. Like,
Thank you. I
no,
get
there's
protective
a
over my damn
line.
dog. So what the fuck do you think I'm gonna do if you talking about my kids? If I had actual human, living, breathing children. And there used to be a point when I guess politics was more genteel, where there were just certain things that were off limits. But again, when you didn't stop it with the Obamas,
Hmm.
no matter how you felt about them, again, and we can even go back a little bit further. It started with Chelsea Clinton,
I think it started with Chelsea.
and they tried to put a stop on it as much as possible. But of course, she was a Democrat child, but they were a little bit more contained. Okay. They didn't talk about them Bush twins who were running fucking wild.
Wild.
And then, of course, the next kids who made it to the White House, they just let it go with the Obama children. But now, again, you can't put that genie back in the bottle because y'all never, and it's like, and you can't have it both ways. So, but yeah, I'm with you. I don't feel sorry. I'm not because, again, you gotta read the fine print when you sign those demon contracts.
Mhm. Yep. And that
And
was part of it. You gonna lose your husband. I don't know why they didn't tell you that you're gonna lose your husband to a true American, okay? Because that's what's gonna happen. He signed that contract, and his contract was different from yours, okay? And in his contract, they told him when they find the perfect partner for him, he gonna have to let that woman go, okay? And he gonna have to take the one that they chose. And I don't know if it's Erica, but it's looking like it may be. Okay,
it
looking like
might
they testing
be
it out right now.
it might be to kinda keep this whole MAGA base, because what they're doing, because they know the old demon is not long for this world. They
Yeah, he
trying
gonna die
everything they
out at some
keep
point, yeah.
they trying everything they can to keep him Weekend at Bernie's, okay? A sentient they trying everything they can to keep him a sentient version of a Weekend at Bernie's, okay?
Mhm.
But they need something or someone that they think can keep them get them this MAGA base that can keep them involved in the MAGA base. And love him or hate him, they were grooming Charlie Kirk for something bigger because they love that dude. And I try not to speak ill of the dead regardless of whatever, but they loved him. So his wife coming in and playing the grieving widow, and
You ain't really grieving.
that's why what happens next with Turning Point, whether they can keep that momentum going, is so important. And if you notice, that has been his focus, is that whole turning point thing.
They had a setback. Did you hear about
Mhm.
their setback?
Was the setback.
They had to cancel their Super Bowl show,
What?
'cause nobody wanna see that shit.
You mean Creed and 50-year-old drug addict Scott Stapp wasn't the religious singing that one Creed song?
Guess not.
Or one
Or
telling
the old ass Kid Rock that don't nobody fucking know about no more. Yeah, they had to cancel that. They had to let that go.
Wow, kinda like having to walk back that whole Tylenol causes autism thing. Well, moving on to entertainment, I know you look sad because you don't even wanna talk about Chris Evans is a new dad. Congratulations to him and his wife.
Captain America got his own Captain baby. Yay.
Yes, he's a girl dad, and one thing about him is he's always kinda kept his private life private,
Been real chill.
and he's been really quiet about it, so no one even knew that they were expecting a kid or having a kid until they announced the kid, so just congratulations. I love Alba Batista. I love Warrior Princess, Warrior Nun, which
Warrior
we
Nun. Yeah.
which we were supposed to be getting follow-up movies for. Netflix, you slow, slow, slow. By the time we get the follow-up movie, she'll be in a walker. But anyway, congratulations to Chris Evans and his growing family. I
Yes,
know he's wanted to be
I agree. He was always one of my favorite characters. I've always loved Chris Evans. I think he has done an amazing job, or his PR team has done an amazing job of always keeping him very favorable and lovable, kind of like Robert Downey Jr. on just being one of those actors from Marvel that was just always adorable, right? Like you were just like, oh, I just love him. Like he's just also awesome. And so, of course, I was into him before he became Captain America for Marvel. And so that just solidified his stardom after he became Captain America. So it is congratulations. And I did watch Warrior Nun because I remember you persuaded me to watch it because I wasn't really into it. And then I got into it and then they fucking canceled it. 'Cause
that's
we did
Netflix
one of
for
our
you.
reviews on it, and we definitely did no, we did 2. I think we did season 1 and we did season 2 of our reviews. But yeah, so congrats to him. Like, I'm really, really happy about that, and I love the fact that he's basically kept his life private
Yeah,
when it comes to
and
that.
I also like him and Robert Downey Jr. are some of the few Marvel actors who hasn't just dogged the whole "I became super rich and famous off of comic book or off of, superhero movies." You know, some people do that in vogue thing, they'll go make the money and then think that they're too good or don't wanna talk, you know what I'm saying? So,
Like,
I appreciate.
they try to throw off
Yeah, they try to distance themselves from
yeah,
it.
from it. Nah, they fully embraced it. I love it. Like, RDJ's like, "I'm going back."
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, no. I agree. And I also think like he did something that I think not as many of them are able to do. Like, yes, they're the only ones who played that character, but I think it was really, really hard to replace him as Captain America. To do the push for Sam Wilson to be the new Captain America and kind of pushing with that, especially for people who don't know the comics. So him
And
just
we
getting
know
behind that.
why it was so hard for people to accept Sam Wilson.
Well, I know, I know,
Let
I
let
know,
bless
I
his
know.
little bone.
But the fact that he was behind it from the jump, right? Knowing
Yeah.
that ultimately that was going to happen because it's part of the comics. So kind of following along with that, knowing that he at some point was going to give up the role of Captain America and who it was ultimately going to go to. It was going to go to some other white dude and being on board with that. That is one thing that I've loved is kind of like he's an okay white dude if that makes any sense. Like he's an okay white dude. Um, which, there be some problematic people in Marvel even, but he ain't one of them really. I mean, not to say he ain't got some issues, but he ain't one of the major ones.
Yeah, same thing with RDJ and his push for Ironheart, and how he came out for the promotions and he support, that gets mad love and mad respect in my book. But
Yeah.
we've always had a special relationship with RDJ, and I think he knows that how our people feels about him, and we
Yes.
even
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
even
10
when he
toes
was
down.
going,
We love that man.
we were down with him.
Mhm.
So but okay, so speaking of that, and I'm gonna let you take this one because you were the one who brought it up, Southern
Okay.
fried rice, and this is your lead, I'm following.
Okay, so if you haven't heard, Kiki Palmer has her own media company. She's, a darling. And she is an executive producer on this new show that's going to be, I think it's on Kiki TV, is what it's called. And so, of course, she's fully supporting it. And the show is called Southern Fried Rice. Okay. So the premise of the show is that you have this Korean woman who was adopted by a black family. And so the idea is she only knows black people. She's only ever been around black people. She was raised around black people. And so she decides to go to an HBCU. And the villain of the story, okay, besides the fact that you have a Korean, because she was born in Korea, going to an HBCU, she has a black set. She dresses very hip hop ish. Okay. And the villain of the story is a big, dark skinned black woman. And then her savior or the person who protects her and the person who stands up for her is a light skinned, skinny black woman. All right. And when I was talking about it, Eddie, with you, one thing that there's many things wrong with the whole premise of it, but people were bringing up the fact that Asians hold the responsibility of us getting rid of affirmative action, all right, of affirmative action being pulled back by the Supreme Court. They were the face of the lawsuit stating that there were too many of us at these schools and they were not getting in. All right. We were taking their spots. And so affirmative action is gone in college admissions. And to now say that the Asian woman, a Korean woman, as the main character at an HBCU, if you don't know what HBCU is, historically black college or university. Okay. They could have picked a character that was maybe biracial, like maybe they were black and Korean or black and Asian. All right. Some people were pointing out that they could have even had taken the story of Angelina Jolie's daughter, Zahara, okay, who is from Africa. And I forgot which country she was adopted from. I forgot what country she was adopted from, but she went to Spelman. She's currently at Spelman College. All right. So, and she was adopted by a white family. Okay. She was raised by him, and her mom has always been really, really good. Not to boost Angelina Jolie, but her mom has always been really, really good about her children staying close to their culture, their ethnicity, their roots. Every single child that she has adopted from another country, she has bought a home in that country for them, and she has encouraged them to learn their language and to stay close to their culture. which is a great thing. Doesn't happen all the time. And it's very, very, I feel it's very, very problematic. I think it's very, very problematic. And even after Kiki Palmer was called out for it, she doubled down on it. When people point out the issues and the problems with this, on you having, not to say that there are not people, people of other races who go to HBCUs. That's definitely true. I've attended a HBCU, all right, and I have seen people of all different backgrounds who go to HBCUs, who are enrolled in HBCUs, all right. But at the same time, why? Why do you think in this climate that we're living in that is what we need? Okay. I will also say that the writer of the show is a Black woman. And from what she stated that the reason why she wrote the show is to present her experience. Ma'am, how is that your experience? You're not Asian. Like, she went to an HBCU, definitely, but she says it's because her experience with going to an HBCU and seeing other races and other cultures on the campus. And so that's the reason why she wanted to write this story. Ma'am, you are not. And then another thing is the name of the show, Southern Fried Rice. The main character is Korean. Do we associate Koreans with fried rice? No, that's
Southern fried.
Chinese.
It should
Okay,
have
if
been
we want to
southern
get very
fried.
stereotypical, we associate fried rice with Chinese food. Okay,
It should have been
not
southern fried kimchi.
somebody wrote that down. Or they were like, how come it couldn't be something to do with soul?
Korean barbecue.
Or they could have been Southern soul.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not okay. I have not seen the show. I don't want to watch the show based on what you've said.
Neither.
I did a quick deep dive and I found something interesting. I found a review on it from Allure magazine.
Okay. What did they say?
The same thing you said. And I purposely went to a white
Mm-hmm.
publication
Yeah, to see what.
to see what they would say.
Mm-hmm.
And not that you need their justification, not that you need their validation or anything like that. But if white folks is telling you that your multi-dimensional racial show, interdimensional, is problematic,
It's problematic.
it's problematic. And not that, and I, just from what you said, it was problematic. The more you
Yeah.
explained it,
Yeah.
initially the premise, I'm like, okay, okay. I was waiting for you to get to the problematic part when you were talking, and I'm like, oh, okay. Because when we were talking about, we were just on the phone, we weren't on video, so you didn't see my face go. I agree with Kiki Palmer. Black creatives do need jobs outside of Tyler Perry and his problematicness,
Not perpetuating this though.
not perpetuating this. The fact that and I'm going to say what I've always said, as a want to be producer, writer myself, I'm not going to say want to be, I'm going to say as a struggling,
Mm-hmm.
who does have my own company, but not anywhere near Kiki's thing. My thing about representation is this. If I understand having Black writers on a show, I understand you wanting to have a multi-dimensional room. But if this is the story you want to tell, then get you a fucking Korean writer, Asian writer on the show to tell the story. If this is the story you want to tell, don't play into our own stereotypes. Play into the colorism. Don't perpetuate it. If this is the story you want to tell, make it realistic. I was having this conversation with someone the other day. There are more than just Black people go to HBCU, so I don't have a problem with that. But if you were really trying to tell this experience from someone's experience, then go find a non-Black person who went to an HBCU and integrate those experiences, even if they were white, even if you wanted to have this person be Korean.
Yeah.
Go find a non-Black person. I'm sure you could find an Asian person who went to an HBCU and be able to give it a more realistic spin to where you're not perpetuating the stereotypes that we have within our own community and culture. And then I really truly hate when someone comes and they criticize your work or they critique your work. The first thing you want to fucking say is you're not educated enough to understand what I'm trying to do. 'Cause now you're calling me fucking ignorant for telling you that your shit is offensive even to me as a Black person. I understand that representation is not interdimensional, or is not one-dimensional. I
Mhm.
get that. But for you to be telling this story with an Asian or Korean lead and not have any Asians or Koreans on the staff, then how does that make you different than the white Hollywood shows that are trying to tell Black stories without having Black people on the staff? If I'm telling a story and the more I dig into our history, the more I find out about this country, the more I would love to tell Native American stories. I think they're probably one of the most underrepresented. And one of the things I loved about the show Reservation Dogs, they had real Native American actors, not
Mhm.
Hispanic kids who look Native American. They had Native American writers, producers, directors on that show along
Mhm.
with other people. So if I'm telling these stories because I think they're underrepresented, me as a Black woman trying to tell a Native American story from my perspective, even if I've done all the research, is disingenuous. I need to go out there and find me a Native. Do you know how to write? Baby, let's go tell your story. Let's find someone, at least have you in the room as a consultant so you can put your words down, put you on there as a director. So I think what you're saying, on one hand, yes, is true, but on the other hand, it makes you disingenuous and no better than everyone else who's kept us out of the room. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So all I can say from, because I haven't watched the show and I've just had yours and what I've read on the internet, which it wasn't just a lure. I just wanted to point that one out. All of the things that I've pulled up about the show pretty much say the same thing. And I think where we are in this day and age, aside from the Asians playing a big part in affirmative action being dismantled, maybe tell that story. That's why you had to go to the HBU, because of the backlash of what your people did. You know what I'm saying? It's just so many ways you could do it better. So I don't even want to hate watch the show. Nothing I've seen has made me even want to hate watch the show.
Give
And
it any attention.
I applaud Kiki for having her own. I applaud Kiki for starting her own. But sometimes, like I was just saying with JD, you got to know when to take that L. Everything, and part of it, and one of the things I loved about this story thing is the thing about being a great storyteller or even a good storyteller is knowing which story should be told and shouldn't be told. And I'm not saying this one shouldn't have been told. It just shouldn't have been told from this perspective. And especially if you're trying to say that, like you said, "You not Asian, who are you to, this is not your experience." So, basically, you're seeing the experiences from your non-Black college friends from a racist view, because that's what it is. Let's just call it out. It's
Yes.
stereotypical and it's racist.
From the stereotypes of not just stereotypes of Black people, but stereotypes of Asians and Asians who have Black scent and all of that. Like, you're also stereotyping them in how she dresses, how she speaks. Like, I see, the trailer and just how she tries to explain away the reason why she had to go to a HBCU. Even when, let's be also, another thing is that the backstory, okay? So the backstory for how she gets adopted is her family is stationed in Korea, and while in Korea, they adopt her. A Black family adopt a Korean Big Eddie. Just the shaking of your head, you know what I'm trying to say. You know, we don't do that. That's not us.
And we've look, through our journey through K-pop and our delve into Korean culture, we know enough to know that's not going down.
At all. We don't
Like,
know.
it
That's
would have
that's
been
not what we
better if,
about.
look, let me fix the story real quick. Yo, daddy was stationed in Korea, fell in love with a Korean woman, she died. He comes back to the US, you're raised by his family. There you go.
Yes.
I fixed it for you.
Yes. You are Black and Asian. So the experience of, because so people were saying, and I agree with this because I've seen this, like I've actually seen this, where a lot of times mixed biracial people have a difficulty on where they belong. All right. Especially if you, when you are Black, because while the Black community, we're very welcoming. Okay. So if you look like us, if you come on in, okay, you one of us for life. But they still have it because they don't want to turn their back on their other culture.
And you
So,
can
to grow up in the culture, in, let's say you grew up around your Black family, as you said, and you don't have a connection to your Korean side. A better story would be her figuring out her Korean side. Okay. Maybe go to
going back to
school.
Seoul.
Yeah, maybe go to school in Korea, and that could be the story of you in school in Korea. Or maybe you didn't grow up around your Black side. Maybe you grew up around your Korean family and you've never really connected to your Black side. And so that is the reason why you go to an HBCU, is
Like,
to connect to your culture, right? I can understand that. Okay. And then we can deal with the colorism of the villain, and we could deal with that later. But even that sounds better than you plopping a Korean woman that was adopted by a Black family, and tell her go to a HBCU because she's only ever grown up around. But stop it. And then you name it Southern fried rice, you racist. Come on. Like that's so, like, you stereotyping, because you saying all Asians are alike. Like that, like, and I know it's like it's not that deep, but it is when you know more, when you're a little bit more knowledgeable about Asian culture and the differences in Asian culture.
and
Like that, Koreans and they they're over here. They don't even like each other.
and especially with the whole appropriation thing in K-pop music now, where it's
Yes.
like
Actually, I
I
wrote that
happen
down. I wrote that down.
love like and I love K like I think when it came and when we were really deep into that rabbit hole after COVID and stuff, you were more the K-pop, and I was the one who was leaning more into K-hip hop and K-R&B,
Yeah.
and knowing the difference and all that kind of stuff. And but now K-pop as a whole seems to be more on the soul appropriation, the Black culture, and all that kind
Hmm.
of stuff. And so just with that alone, that's a whole different story for a different day. But just knowing how that plays into it, and it also reminds me, and I know we didn't talk about before, but it brought something else up. Timberland, did you hear about? He started this whole a new production company that's mostly digitally based. He created an AI artist. This AI artist is Asian, Korean. She is a woman. It's a woman, and she basically think of Aaliyah as a Korean woman doing K-pop and hip hop. I have to find it and send it to you just so you can see it later. But he faced the same backlash. It's like, I understand how AI is coming in for digital. I understand the permutation, I guess, of AI into our society, creativity, all of that kind of stuff. In some ways, it makes things easier. As a creative, I'm not going to lie and say I don't use it because as a one woman show, it helps me do some things. It helps work. Do I use it? And I've told you this before, and I'll tell you when, listen, I don't understand how people use it to write for them because it's horrible. I don't understand it. And if this is what you were going to do, I don't understand it. And I don't, and to me, it ranks up there last show when we were talking about the AI actress.
Hmm. Oh,
I'm
right.
not,
Yeah, I remember that.
I'm not listening to AI music. I'm not
Hmm.
listening to an AI artist. I'm not paying money to go to an AI concert, especially during COVID when we were in that phase, we paid money to watch the BTS concerts.
Hmm.
BTS are fucking real people. I've paid money to watch other concerts. I don't have a problem with that part, right? I'm not going to pay for a fucking AI artist. I'm especially not going to pay one where, as a Black person, why are you appropriating your own fucking culture? Why are you playing into the stereotypes? If this is what you were going to do, why not just create a Black fucking artist? And someone said I did not have Timberland ruining his legacy on my 2025 bingo card.
Me either. Yeah.
But when you brought that up, it brought it back to mind. And I'm just like, and I get it. I like there are issues, but I watch K-pop I like K-pop. I still listen to it. I still listen to sometimes I look at them and I'm like, you just can't go that deep. I'm not saying the appropriation is not there. I'm just saying I'm not going that deep into it. I'm not take at this point, whatever. But when you're doing things like that, that was a conscious fucking choice. You played into it.
Mhm.
You made it worse. You are now co-signing on the appropriation. If that's what you wanted to do, take your ass over to Korea or hit up Big Hit. Yo, I got an idea. We can start a show kind of like how y'all found in hyphen over here in the US. You got the credentials. Go produce TXT and hyphen whoever their new group is. Go Oasis, whatever, be it BTS. Like go work with. Go find you a real K-pop group or K artist. But why are you going to intentionally create a fake artist in that vein?
Exactly.
So that I get the whole Southern fried thing. Yeah, but that just made me think of that. I'm sorry to go
I
off
know.
on that tangent.
Learn something else. I ain't know about that either.
So I don't understand why we yeah, it's Mandy Moore's new face. I feel like this should be the part where I'm not okay, I'm not gonna be lazy and I'm actually going to put up a picture of her. I'm gonna go find a picture and put up the picture of her face for those of you who have not seen it. To me, I don't wanna judge. I don't know why she got plastic surgery. I will say it was unnecessary. I, for one, thought Mandy Moore was beautiful.
Always.
I thought she was aging really well.
She was.
She has proven herself to be a talented actress, probably more so than she was as a singer.
Mhm.
I was never when she was singing, I was never really a big fan. I think she may have had 1 or 2 songs, and I think she came out in that time where every woman that came out, they were trying to turn into the next Britney Spears. So
Yeah.
I think as a singer, her true talent, because she really does have a nice voice. I think
Yeah,
just
she can
because of
really
what they were
sing,
trying
but
I
she was
think
an
just
actress.
what they were trying to make her be, it
Mhm.
didn't really come across. So I'm glad she found her way in acting. I don't understand why she would do that to herself, let me say that. It's not as bad as Lauren Sanchez, who is the new Mrs. Jeff Bezos, but it's she looks
It ain't as bad
unrecognizable.
as Bradley Cooper either. You seen that one? Like I was like, Bradley, like, sir. Okay, now I fully understand everybody can't age like fine wine like George Clooney. Okay, I get it. Okay. But even George Clooney can't age like fine wine. Okay. But moderation is key. Okay. Moderation. Okay. I don't know which plastic surgeon y'all went to because they didn't know moderation. Like this just destroyed these faces. Like just, now granted, I wasn't necessarily a fan of Bradley Cooper. I wasn't. Okay. But he looked horrible.
Yeah,
He looked
and
he looked horrible, and then Mandy Moore, I always thought she looked adorable. Like I always thought she looked like she was a good looking woman. And because she's always had the girl next door look. Okay? She's never had the sex pot look, but the girl next door look lasts way longer than the sex pot, okay? And so she was living that great life as that girl next door look, okay? Like people would be like, she's cute. Like that was always Mandy Moore is cute. She ain't cute no more.
now and even like in This Is Us, she was I always thought she was attractive. And when she was younger, she was cute. I thought as she grew up, she was and just getting to know
Came
her
into
person.
herself, yeah.
Yes, and she was a beautiful woman, and so like I said, I'm not one to I try not to judge, but I find this was wholly unnecessary, and I don't know, it's like it look just the way the head is shaped and everything else that's going on, it looks like she might, Lord forgive me, there might be an eating disorder, like, she just looks the face, it's not cute. The head looks too big. Yeah. I will let y'all judge. I will actually be good and go find a picture and stick it up here for that,
Don't scare them now.
but yeah. So Anyway, and then just the last thing, Taylor Sheridan left Paramount for NBC
Last thing,
Universal.
we're not gonna talk about the pedophile.
What? Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. I forgot.
But go ahead
So
with Taylor Sheridan. Let's end on the other one. Go ahead.
yeah, no one. I'm not surprised. I've seen Yellowstone. I didn't just get into it like everybody else. I like his show with Zoe Saldana, The Lioness. That's a good show. Um,
Okay, that was a good show. I like that
yeah,
one. I like that one.
that's a good show. So, but he's taken his deal. I like Tulsa King. I'm just kind of iffy on Sylvester Stallone. And Tulsa King is getting a New Orleans spinoff with the one and only Samuel L. Jackson. So you know I'm all in on that. But he's going to
Let me know
NBC.
when that is.
He's doing an NBC Universal, and I don't know if this was something in the works before Paramount was sold, but it was just announced rather abruptly, and so, but we'll see. And last but not least, so the final thing, yes. What do we call him? Is Andrew
Andrew.
Andrew Mountbatten Windsor is no longer Prince Andrew. He's finally, and I know William is happy about this because, him and Kate have their eyes on Royal Lodge and they've been trying to figure out how to get him out of there. And they couldn't because his mama set him up with a lifelong lease for free where he couldn't really be kicked out. But
Mm,
after Virginia Guffray's book came out and he was named pedophile number one, they finally had their excuse to exile him. But don't cry, he's been exiled to Sandringham, the Christmas house and castle. So he gets some property on Sandringham, which is actually one of the few properties that the royal family owns outright. It's not a lease through the British Commonwealth or anything like that. So it's one of their family estates. But yeah, and word on the street is he's not leaving Royal Lodge, which sounds like a lodge, but it's like a 30-bedroom mansion or something. He's not leaving that anytime soon, but he has been stripped of all his titles. Beatrice and Eugenie kept theirs, right? They allowed them to keep theirs.
do they get to keep theirs if their mother also lost hers?
She lost hers through the divorce.
Yeah, but she was still able to refer to herself as what is the I forgot what was her title? I forgot. But
Duchess. Well, it's kind of like Diana, because that was one thing. Even after her divorce, she was still Princess Diana.
yeah, so she was able to do that, but she also cannot use any titles.
No, and I think that they're no longer back together. She's going to, yeah. So
Yeah, because she did come over to support. She did go over to support. I don't know. I didn't hear anything about his daughters being stripped of their titles. I mean, granted, they don't really use it anyway.
yes,
Look,
they get to keep their royal titles.
they do. Okay, okay, that's cool. I mean, they shouldn't pay for the sins of the father, I guess. I will just say I focused on this story because of Harry and Meghan and how happy people were when they were taking stuff away from him, left and right. And whenever you brought up Andrew, okay, people would brush it off. These royalists would brush off whenever you brought him up. Look at it now, okay? He deserves it. We know he does. I think he should be fully kicked out of the family, but they'll never do that, of course. But I do think that this is part of their way of trying to save the monarchy because more every year the support for abolishing the monarchy increases. How is that going to look when William and Kate take over? Like
Who
what is that going to what is that going to be? Because, Williams turned his back on being the type of monarch he needed to be in order to get people to fully support the monarchy and keep it up. He's going to end up being just like his father. And so knowing that people thought that when you came in, you would change the direction of the monarchy, it would be more new age. And instead you just like, nah, I'm gonna keep the status quo.
because William is lazy and spoiled and entitled, and he doesn't want to do the work to actually change the monarchy. The
Yeah.
best bet, and you never really believed me, and I know because you were a William stan when I told you Harry was truly the more popular and likable of the brothers.
It's before I knew better. I didn't know better than Eddie.
Yeah. Um, and Harry and Meghan were the best bet to modernize the monarchy,
I agree. Yes.
but they also were too popular for the monarchy. They brought about their work ethic, especially as Harry matured and he stopped by his own admission, especially when he met Meghan, he stopped allowing himself to be the dumping bag. He stopped allowing them to drive the bus over him and stopped being the one to cover up the scandals. Because like I told you, when that whole Vegas thing, there's no way it should have got out. But they were
Unless they
using
wanted it to. You're right.
unless they wanted it to, and they were using it to cover up one of William's scandals.
Mhm.
When as he got older, and especially as he met a woman who was about something, he stopped allowing himself to be thrown under the bus. Her American work ethic, because she gonna work for it.
Mhm.
That was too much for them. She wasn't happy with just being like Fergie. She wasn't happy spending the money.
Cause
Let's go.
she had her own, like
Yeah,
Kate. Cause Kate's
yeah.
whole life was William, but Harry knew from the jump, Meghan's whole life will never be him. Like, she won't revolve her life around him. Kate has revolved her whole life around William. She's done it since she first decided that she was going to be his wife.
And so it's like you wanting to go out here and do this and the biracial princess, and you didn't realize how popular that would be, and just everything. And wherever they went, they were more popular than you. Their tours were more successful than yours. They were actually willing and wanted to do the work, which upstaged everyone else who wanted to do as little as possible. Add into the fact that on the low, he was always Queenie's favorite, and it's just like, you know, besides the relationship, he had a personal relationship with his grandmother, and so it was just like, I don't understand why the pedophile was always her favorite son, but but yeah, back to William and Kate, they're losing popularity, and it's like even the tabloids are getting tired of recycling the same Harry and Meghan stories. When are they coming back? Harry's never coming back, and he told you his family will never publicly step foot on British soil if they can't get the protection that they deserve and the
Mhm.
protection that they should have. Hell, the last time he was there, he was nearly accosted. So it's just like the success in America is bothering you so much because they've proven they don't need you.
At all.
So anyway, I'm not sad about I just wish America had the same balls and guts as our predecessors, Germany, to deal with their problem, to make sure that they may have conservative politicians, but they'll never have another fucking Hitler. Goes back to what you said earlier.
Yeah.
How Brazil dealt with Bolsonaro, how the British people have finally dealt with Andrew. So I hope we follow all these people's lead and we
They
learn
they
our
they
lesson.
cut off their dead arm so it didn't spread, and we refused to, and so that is the reason why it spread throughout our whole entire body, because we refused to cut off that one arm that was infected, and now the whole body is infected.
Yeah, we got rid of it, but it's like, yo, gangrene, come back and just kill us.
I don't think we
So,
ever got rid of it.
well,
I think that it slowed down its progress. It slowed down, but I don't think we ever, got rid of it. But what I think revved it up, was, Obama getting elected, right? Where it was slowly moving, and but we were still white. We were still white, right? White presidents, okay, white first ladies. And then Obama gets elected, and it was like, "Oh shit, we've been going too slow." And it quickened, okay? Because we've always had white nationalists, we've always had Christian nationalists, we've always had neo-Nazis, but they were on the fringe, okay? They were on the sideline, okay? To know that they're front and center, the Tea Party comes out as a reaction, and Look at the Tea Party is what ultimately turns into MAGA. Okay. And now, we consider MAGA to be a cult. Okay. Where now they're trying to get more people to be MAGA without realizing that they're MAGA. Why? Through the fact that they're destroying our education system. They are lowering the literacy rates and then brushing it off and saying it's not that big a deal because you can read, right? Because they don't want to
But you can't
explain to people
comprehend.
that that's not what literacy is. Literacy is about comprehension on what you read. It's not about being able to read. It's about your comprehension of what you read. And that is what we're currently lacking. So the more people who are illiterate is the more members of MAGA without them realizing that they're MAGA. And that's on both sides. So, we need to now, I'm sorry, we're going to have to cut off the head. In order to save this country, the head needs to be cut off. And I'm just asking who's willing to do it. That's who I need to elect. All right. I need to play a
Uh,
role in electing the person who is willing to cut off the head. That's the reason why I'm not on board with Gavin Newsom being president. I think he's doing a fantastic job on keeping California where it needs to be, but I wouldn't want him to be president. And the reason why is because he would never cut off the head.
you don't think Dollar Tree Fits would do it?
No, never would. As soon as he gets elected president, he's going to go moderate. He will slowly shift himself moderate. All right. And how we know this is what he was doing before that man was reelected. Okay. We have to remember those interviews that Newsom was doing, okay, with these people. He was doing interviews with them. He was telling them that he admires them. All right? He is going to go back to that because they're going to think, "Oh, well we look, we elected a Democrat president. We good now. We good. Sit back. We chilling." Nah. I need someone who will be president and cut heads. I want heads on pike for whoever becomes president. Heads on pike. And I needed to start with if there's a blue wave and in 2026, Democrats are able to take super majority. That's what they need to be focused on. They don't need to be focused on a majority getting over the line. They need a super majority. Okay. We need 60 in the Senate. Okay. We need 300 in the House. All right. Well, there's no question about any of this. And then I need shit to happen.
And
That's what I need. So
I think it doesn't start with another impeachment. I think it starts with an actual conviction, not just the charges in the trial. That's the impeachment. You need to convict them,
removal.
and you need to cut off, like you said, cut off the head. And then it starts with, because of the Supreme Court, you can't hold him legally accountable, which I don't see how, but it doesn't say anything about civilly. So anybody who wants to start a class action suit with me, let me know. But
Exactly.
I think after that, you need to hold Miller and Loomer and all these others, Bondi, Patel,
Yep.
everybody else, that fucking drunk in the Department of
Not just
Defense.
fired. Not just fired.
No,
Jail time.
jail time.
These people are committing crimes in our face.
Christy known, all of them. They need to be sentenced. They need to be in
Yes,
jail.
they need jail. They are committing crimes in our face. And I'm going to be honest, all of those ICE Gestapos also criminal. And I don't mean get the lower hanging fruit and then all of a sudden forget the ones at the top. No. But the lower hanging
Holman,
fruit, don't forget
that's
about
it. I
them.
need Homer,
I need the whole
Holman,
tree.
Holman, Besant, whatever his name is. I need my 40 billion back from Argentina, like all of it. So,
Like all of it. So we'll see.
yeah,
We'll
we'll
see.
continue. We'll continue that next time. I feel like we should end on a joke. What do you call a witch who lives in the
What?
sandwich? End on a joke. I'm gonna start doing that. I'm gonna start ending the show on dad jokes because it's just so heavy, and even the gossipy stuff ends up being heavy. So we're gonna end everyone on a joke. That was our joke.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Because it's so corny that it's funny. You're right. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And until next time, thank you for joining us. I'm Eddie.
And I'm Tammy.
Please
Bye.
be easy. Bye. Peace.